All right, let's get started. Today, we're going to go over quite a bit of things. I'm going to try to move quickly. Please, please, please don't hesitate to just unmute yourself if you have a question or a comment. We are going to go over stats. We're going to go over goals for this year. I do have a couple of announcements. We're going to go over forms changes and then some planning. I'm going to say it again later, but I would really appreciate if brokers and staff could stay on a little bit after we are done. I have a thing to talk to y'all about that I need your help on. So let's just go ahead and dive into market stats. After market stats, we're going to go into form changes. The form changes were pretty minimal until I looked at one thing, and I'm not sure how much I like it or hate it, but it's definitely going to add a step for us. So we've got some stuff to go over, and very important things for you to be knowledgeable about. So with that in mind, let's go over stats. And first things first, let's talk about why stats are so important. Why do we need to know our stats?
To help our clients.
Absolutely helps our clients. When we get a client, how do we, who do you want to work with? People you know, people you like, people you trust, and people you're in flow with. So I can know, like, and be in flow with Jeff McGregor, but there is no way I'll let him perform a heart surgery on me. We have to know our stuff to be trustworthy for somebody to use us. So one of the things, and I wish he was on, but he is unfortunately struck with COVID right now, and I'm glad he's resting. Eric O'Brien came to me and he said, "Man, I'm drowning here, and I need help." Well, when we talked it over, I told him that I thought the best thing for him to do was to go from 2 to 4 real estate reviews a week, and in person. When he did that, he became very knowledgeable about the market. He started really being able to see the stats. When people asked him questions about real estate, he knew how to answer. It turned him into an expert. So he went from somebody that people knew, liked, and were in flow with to also adding expert. So he was providing value there. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share these stats with you in a PDF as well. So don't be worried about memorizing all of this. Also, this is a little broader than what most people want, but could be a beginning to a conversation that could help you pose as an expert. Not pose, be an expert. No posers. So Fayetteville's total annual in 2021. We've got one house that didn't have any bedrooms, but it had one bathroom that sold for $52 a square foot. I'm not sure what that is, maybe a studio condo or something. But the things that I pay most attention to are these median numbers. The median numbers are where it's at, because that's going to tell you what's happening around the middle. If you want to look at the highs and the lows, that's fine. But these median numbers and average numbers matter. And the closer they are, the more stable our market is. And this is too far apart to be a stable market. This market's rising quickly, and it shows because the average is so much higher than the median. In 2020, it was rising as well. And then if we look here, even in January, we've got a spread there. And then in December, we've got a smaller spread. When we see that spread lessen like that, we might think that the market is going to begin to levelize. Levelizing is what we are expecting eventually, not a bust. We're not seeing that come. I am worried about some of our market, our lending practices loosening. I'm starting to see things that remind me an awful lot of 2007. And I hope that the feds crack down on those because they're starting to do CISO loans again, stated income, stated asset, some really silly things, in my opinion, that could create big issues. So with that in mind, we just take a look here at the bottom. I've kind of summarized it. We've seen a median increase from January to the end of the year of 15%, $23.62 a square foot, and the size of home remained similar. So if we look here, 1786 and 1801, that's not enough of a spread on the median to worry about it. But this $23.62 on the median from beginning to end of the year is pretty huge. If we look at it from 2020 to 2021, 150.72 and 132.88, 132.88 and 157.72. That's nearly $25, 24.84. So huge increase of 15% there. That is extremely important. Springdale had pretty similar numbers. They went up $39.31 a square foot. Crazy. Rogers went up $22.22 a square foot, a 14% increase. Bentonville, $27.14, a 17% increase, the largest increase on there. So again, you'll have these numbers in a PDF. What I'm really concerned about is the new construction numbers versus the resale numbers. Price rose 11% on new construction. What's media talking about? Media is talking about the increase of building product and how new construction is so much more expensive now. Well, it had a far less increase than others. Why?
Locations?
I don't think so. I think it's because builders couldn't predict this kind of increase. And if we look at the numbers, they only had an increase of, they did not increase the number of homes sold in Northwest Arkansas. 157 less new constructions were sold in 21 versus 2020. In my opinion, and I don't know this is fact, in my opinion, builders are beginning to hold their listings back. I've seen it. And I think that it's the fad for them now, or the practice, not fad, but practice for them to withhold their listing until it is near completion so they can maximize their profit. And I think that this is very important for them to do. And these are extremely important numbers that show a big mistake. And quite honestly, I think they were getting their product out there as quick as they could because they're trying desperately to take care of the need that the public has. I think that this mistake was done in good nature, but they need to withhold their listings. So with that in mind,
Hey, Jason, I have something to add to that. I mean, not only just to maximize their profit, but also just because they don't have any idea of what that house is going to cost to build until it's almost done.
absolutely, product.
You can't put a foundation in and list a house and at a certain price because you just have no idea. I had a client in Atlanta who put a house under contract last February at, I want to say at like 290. And we signed a disclosure, saying, hey, look, we know that the price could go up. At the end of the day, when she finally closed in October, we were supposed to close in May, and we got delayed because, we couldn't get product, couldn't get materials. That house ended up selling for $340,000. That house went up by 50 grand.
Yeah.
And thankfully it was still within her budget and she could still buy it. But a lot of people, this builder told us that a lot of people were not able to do that they had to, they were like, we're out of our budget now. We can't afford the house anymore. And they had to go and find something else.
Product price is shifting sand right now. Totally. If you get someone that is involved in a new build and they are a buyer, and they come in and the builder actually lets them go under contract when it's a slab, let's say, or when it's just been dried in, they have months and months to go. Quite honestly, they need to be told whatever that looks like for you, whatever you ask for to be done in addition to what's already agreed upon. I want you to know you are probably not going to get it these days, and you're not going to get a builder that wants to work with you on changes. The biggest reason why is by the time it closes, let's say 4 months later, 4 months later could be a 5 or 6% increase in price, maybe more. So the builder is probably not going to want to work with someone at that point, because they could make thousands upon thousands more. So working with new construction buyers, that's an important thing to know. Another thing that you need to do is maybe develop some relationships with new build realtors. Have a good working relationship with Buffington folks. Have a good working relationship with different people in that new build industry, because you're going to need to work with them and say, hey, these are when my parents need to be, or my people need to be in a home. Can you help guide me? Can you let me know when something comes on the market? Can you let me know what's available that isn't on the market, that will be coming on when the builder feels secure about listing it? These are good conversations to be having with new build agents. So very important stuff. Resale in Washington County, we had 2755 sell in 2020, 3049 in 21. 294 more homes sold in 21 than 20. Prices rose countywide by 17%, 2509 a square foot. Now, when we looked at our numbers, Springdale and Fayetteville showed a rise of 15%. So when we're looking at resale and it's saying 17%, that means the outskirts are going up. And that's exciting. That's exciting that they're seeing a rise in value. And one of the things that I love, and these are all resale, but one of the things that I love most about that is that could create attraction for builders more and more to build in the outskirts, growing those areas. And my biggest hope is that we would see a builder get the gall and get the courage up to start building condominiums and stacked homes, not side by sides in these areas, because that's how we're going to create affordable housing in Northwest Arkansas, like any other metro area has done. Condo ownership is coming, guys, because it's the way to make land affordable and profitable enough to use. But it definitely takes courage, and it's hard for a builder to be the first one. So just be aware it's coming. Who knows when? I've been saying that for years now, but somebody's going to have the courage to do it, and it ain't going to be me. Benton County had more than 5,000 sell each year. So I can't get completely accurate numbers. We are going to look at some information from Neighbor on this. But what I do have is that we have an 18% increase in Benton County, 18% year compared to year. Median price grew by $45,000 and the size stayed very similar, 1855 square feet in 1920. That is huge, just a ridiculous rise in price. If we look at the median price difference on Washington County, it's 37, almost 38,000. So these price differences and what we're seeing happen on our median resales. Median is where our people live. Median is where the market is the most active. Why is it so important for us to follow these numbers and know what's going on with the median? Well, that's where the most people could gain, and that's where the most people could get hurt. So how can they get hurt, and how can we help them know how not to? Thoughts? I've got an answer, but I want to see if you know anything. You know things, but okay. So this is a biggie. What happens if somebody's house burns down? Who do they talk to? Their insurance provider. They talk to their insurance provider. We saw increases like this for the last, 3-4 years. We've been watching us just soar in value. When's the last time you raised your insurance premium? When's the last time you talked to your insurance provider about where you're at with your insurance? I've remodeled my home completely. It was a gut job, and it's done. My home is a very different value than it was last year, not only because of the market, but because of the improvements. It's very, very, very important that you talk to your clients and provide some value, even if you just sent them what I just showed you, and talk to them about that instead of doing a full real estate review. You're providing value and helping somebody stay awake and know what's going on in the market. Another way to provide value with this is to talk to them about, a line of credit just sitting there. Now, what happened in 2007 to the market was we saw a real pop. Things just went to hell in a handbasket. They really did. And one of the things that really could have helped some people is if they would have gone ahead and gotten a line of credit on their home when the market was soaring and just let it sit. The market started coming back in 2012. Really 2010 things started to be okay. We're going to be okay is what we started saying. 2011 was a good year. 2012 we were like, all right, we're solid. So with that in mind, a HELOC is 5 years running. So if they get a 5-year HELOC, they can have that money sitting there as a safety net and pay nothing for it except for the origination, which is probably going to run, I don't know, $500 to originate it and have it sitting there. It's a wonderful safety net. And one of the things that people tend to do in good times is think that isn't even something that's needed. Now, if you're able to operate really well, you've got money in reserves anyway, and maybe don't need that. But most people don't. Most people don't have that. And having that there could really help them and give them time to think things through. they may need to sell their home. They may need to make some real changes in their life. Having that line of credit sitting there gives them time to make those tough decisions instead of feeling frantic. Does that make sense? Another thing is that line of credit could create wealth for them. They could purchase a investment property that outperforms the low rate of the line of credit. I would advise people to get a line of credit as soon as possible, because feds are saying they're going to hike interest rates 3 times in 2022. Anybody else heard that? So 3 rate hikes in 2022 creates a less attractive line of credit. Getting with your people sooner than later is a very smart thing. Knowing these market increases helps your clients more than just saying your home's worth more, way to go. That's a very different bird than actually helping them grow wealth and create stability. Another thing with those rate increases looming, of course, interest rates on credit cards are ridiculous anyway, but creating a line of credit to put on a new roof or put in a new HVAC system or remodel a kitchen is going to be far less interest than a Home Depot credit card would be. You might get a Home Depot credit card at 0, and I'd lose out on the argument at that point. But I doubt it right now. I don't think they're doing those things right now. So that line of credit is a windfall for a lot of people, and you can provide value to a lot of people by talking to them about the options with that. Let's take a look now at, anybody have anything on that? We all good?
On the insurance and being underinsured, should we change that in the real estate review, or just if we're emailing people, just add it in an email as something that this information is useful because, because I feel like I could email a bunch of people and say, I know I'm underinsured on my properties. And so that might be a good start for an email to try to get real estate reviews.
I have it in my cover letter on my real estate reviews. So my real estate reviews come with a cover letter, and I print that out on nice linen paper, and it goes on top of the review. So that cover letter, an example of one, is in the drive. If you go to not my folder, but the right one, real estate review info, cover letter template, it's right there. So I don't know if that template has it. Let me look.
While you're looking, Jason, I would just want to add that, when you're talking to your clients about this, remember that typically your homeowner's insurance is going to cover the cost to rebuild. And, what it cost to rebuild my house 2 years ago is now a lot higher. To rebuild my house now would cost a lot more money than it would have 2 years ago, just because the cost of materials have gone up. So we're probably all underinsured.
So here's my cover letter. Please consider evaluating this pricing to review your insurance coverage. Let me see if, no, it's not in there. But yeah, I'll upload this one too, and you guys can work on creating your own and make it the way that you want it, because you may not talk the same way I talk, and people would be like, that doesn't sound like Maggie at all. So important stuff. Definitely. So market statistics from Neighbor, they're showing the average residential price is pretty close between the two counties, about a $5,000 difference. And they're showing that the average days on the market are historically less in Washington County, but then in November popped back up. Why do you guys think Washington County has less days on the market, but less sales?
It's a more desirable area and less people are selling their homes.
I
Lower
just think it's a
inventory.
demand issue. Wouldn't say that Washington County is more desirable because the price per square foot is much higher in Benton County than it is in Washington County. I just think that not as many people are selling, so they stay on the market less time.
Turnover seems to be higher in Benton County with Walmart, corporate moves and things like that. So the number of sales seems to be higher. To me, I would think that that's a big driver of number of sales. Benton County being higher than Washington County.
I don't have an answer. I have no idea. They are, Bentonville is a different bird than Fayetteville. I know that, and I don't have an answer for it. I was curious of your thoughts, but if you're expecting something from me, I'm sorry I let you down. Anything else on market statistics? Was that helpful? Did that help you guys? And do you think that's something that the PDF of those something you want to share with your people? You want me to make sure I send a PDF of that to everybody? Put it up as a link. We'll do it then. So let's get into form changes. And we're not going to review all of them. Some of them are dismissible because they have nothing to do with what you want to do with your buyers and sellers. So they'll just be sitting there. So we'll go over those quickly or not at all. Other things, like I said, are big changes, especially on the property disclosure. ARA has some statements that they want to make sure get reviewed again. They are saying no to love letters. Please sell your house to us. This is the type of people that we are, and we want it so bad. Our children would go to school where your children went to school. We will treat your home like you treat it, stuff like that. They say don't do it. Should not be attached to or reference in any contracts prepared by a buyer's agent to be presented to seller. If a letter is received along with the contract, the list agent should present only the offer and return the letter back to the buyer's agent with a note stating it is their policy not to participate in presenting these types of communications. They are also saying they don't recommend escalation clauses. Let's talk about escalation clauses for just a second. They're saying because of inherent risks in the use of escalation provisions, no matter which side of the transaction you represent, use of these types of provisions are risky and require the utmost care and diligence in order to adhere to real estate regulation 1010, as well as Pope County Bar, blah, 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 decision of 1981. In the event you are presented with the potential use of an escalation clause or addendum, you are advised to strongly encourage in writing your customer or client to seek the advice of legal counsel. They're saying that that creates something beyond a simple real estate transaction. A simple real estate transaction is when you have a buyer and seller and everything is written clearly and there are no items left in question. Obviously, an escalation clause leaves something in question. My stance on this is This is being recorded. My stance on this is if you don't include escalations at times when you're representing a buyer, your buyer could lose out on any offer for a long, long time, especially in certain price ranges. On the other side of this, in representing sellers, my stance is if someone sends you an escalation clause and they say that they would pay $1,000 up to $10,000 above what they already offered, I would simply counter back with a $10,000 counter. Raise the price by $10,000. We'll accept this if you sign it. If not, we've got other offers in sayonara. And simplify things and get your seller who you represent the maximum that the buyer already said they're willing to pay. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense to me when representing a seller that we would not do that. If you said you're willing to pay this, pay it, money up. I don't care about the escalation. Let's do this. So those are my thoughts on the escalation clause. I am working on a draft for a disclaimer and disclosure about escalation clauses for people to sign. Here's what I want it to say in regular English, and I've got an attorney that I'm working with to approve it. Basically, the contract provided as evidence for the purchase could be created by the seller's agent, the listing agent, and the listing agent could write it up, mark out their own name, just for privacy purposes, and show that they had an offer in for 1,000 under the maximum that you said you'd pay 1,000 over. And is there anything wrong with that? Well, with the way the escalation clause is written, no, it's fair game. And it's in the best interest of the seller who the listing agent represents. That kind of makes you sick to your stomach, doesn't it? But it's fair game. It's fair game. We got one person on here. Is Joe on here too? No, I don't see Joe on today. Maggie, does that all make sense legally to you? Yeah. So I just think that it's best that we get a disclaimer together that is one of the things that we recognize in this market that may be necessary to use in order to win an offer, but may be used against you in this manner and in manners that we haven't yet identified. So I think that's important. And again, I'm working on getting that together with an attorney, because if they sign a disclaimer, that disclaimer needs to be approved by an attorney before blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So back to sharing the screen, and we'll get back to more changes. Okay. Real estate licenses are regulated by the Arkansas Real Estate Commission. If a licensee has not properly presented to you, you may file a complaint at arecarkansas.gov. I don't understand what's going on here. I don't know what caused things. I'd like to know the cause, like what happened to make these people mad. But somebody did not display their license, and somebody got mad about that. So I'll probably wind up talking to, what's his name in Little Rock? The teacher. Bill, who am I thinking of?
Maurice?
Yes, because I bet he has all the stories. I bet he does, and I'd like to know some of those. Here's a good change on the URSA. We used to have buyer does not agree, and then the form general addendum serial number referenced. Now it has the general addendum form serial number or termination. So it completes the URSA out in a clean manner. I like that change. I think it's valid. The next change is for notice of existing real estate contracts. This is for backup offers. I got a phone call maybe yesterday about backup offers. All the phone calls tend to run together for days. Abby, was it yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. So backup offers, in my opinion, are kind of a waste of time. If there isn't a reason, if there isn't something going on with the current buyer, I think that this creates a lot of false hope in a buyer, and I'm not a fan of those. I think buyers need to be coached to emotionally move on, and this creates something that is hard. So I prefer not using these, and if possible, but if they really want a backup offer, this is a change in that honestly doesn't matter much. I'm going to move on.
Hey, I want to add one thing. You know, representing a buyer, I think that if there's a house they really, really want, you know, I always tell my clients, like, look, we can take a backup position on this, but we're going to keep looking.
Absolutely.
You know? But then as a seller, you know, there is something to be said about having the, you know, about having the security of having a backup. Of course, you know, that buyer could, a lot of times you go back on a backup to a backup and you're like, hey, this is going to fall out of contract, and they've already moved on anyway.
Yeah.
And the other thing about that too is in the market the way it is right now, and this could change once we, you know, level out, if we ever level out, but you put that house back on the market and you very well may bring a much higher price than what your backup was.
Absolutely.
Because you've got a whole nother pool of buyers out there.
This has always been strange to me. They want you to send notice in certified mail. And I can't believe that still hasn't changed. And it, like Maggie said, it does say here in paragraph 2, buyer may withdraw this subordinate real estate contract at any time prior to receiving notice. So if you do put in a backup, you definitely need to withdraw if they go under contract with another home. So be aware of that and be careful with these. Next, we've got a change at auction. We don't do auction. Moving on. Real estate contract commercial. They've removed some verbiage. I'm going to move on from commercial contracts. New construction. This is a change here. Method of agreement, select one, only written or written and verbal. Written and verbal has been stricken. It's gone, which is wonderful. That was terrifying to me. Then they added under payment, any additional monies required to perform agreed upon additions or changes herein be identified as upgrade charges. Upgrade charges are in addition to the original contract price, and the timing of their payment shall be determined by the parties at the time of agreement of each addition change order. Any upgrade charge received by the builder seller shall be applied to offset against the additional construction costs associated with agreed upon additions. These are important clauses for a builder to know, or a builder's rep to know. If you are representing new construction, pay attention to this. I will be sending a link for all of this so you can reread it and see what has changed. Method of agreement, it's stricken underneath that, only written and verbal, because now they're saying only do that in writing. So important changes there. It's either complete or you're going to write any changes and pay for them in a way that you guys agree upon. So it's very clear now. We've got here a change on the residential contract for USDA loans on page 1. You can get an RD loan direct from RD without going to a provider, and it will take you a lot longer to get it done. So they have decided that they want to know if you're going direct or using a lender, because people that use direct, the seller has the right to know that will take a lot longer, and that's important. We've got title requirements. Guess what? Abstract has been removed. Yay! So abstract is gone. Instead of saying you're going to close at the same title company, this verbiage was poor. Provided buyer and seller choose to close at the same title company. That means they have the option to choose to or not to. Now it says buyer and seller shall equally split the cost of a combo policy and mortgagee's policy of title insurance, either standard or enhanced, if enhanced coverage is desired by buyer and available, in the amount of, as to owners, the purchase price, as to mortgagees, the loan amount, not to exceed the purchase price. However, if buyer and seller choose to close at different title companies, and or if buyer pays cash, A above would control as to the allocation of title insurance costs. In the event the loan amount exceeds the purchase price, buyer agrees to pay an additional title insurance premium in excess of purchase price. So if it goes above what the seller is getting, or if they choose to go to different title companies, it defaults to A, which is seller will provide the owner's policy, buyer will pay for the mortgagee's policy. That was due. I'm really glad that got done. That creates a lot of title clarity. They fixed it. I'm really pleased with that. All right. Now, rent, we're going to move on from that. Property disclosure. Page 1 is practically brand new. Page 1 and 2, we haven't seen anything like it before.
Hey, Jason, can we go back to that? I'm sorry.
Go back to title.
Yeah, so this, at the very beginning where it says per RESPA and consumer federal protection, blah, 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 buyer and buyer's lender have the right to determine where buyer or buyer's lender will purchase title insurance and other settlement services. A lot of times you're seeing these builders say, you have to close with my title company.
Yes.
Like if you want this, you've got to, and so does that take that out of the play?
No, because it's a term and the builder does not have to accept terms that they don't want.
Okay.
Yep. Just like any other seller. If I were a seller whose sister owned a title company and told me they'd close it for free if both sides went there. Okay. It's a term. Hey, my sister owns a title company. She'll close us both for free. If you'll close at this title company, I'll accept your offer. It's a term. So yeah,
okay.
they have the right to do it.
I mean, at the end of the day, the buyer is agreeing to it, but I just wasn't sure if this was something that like builders couldn't do anymore.
No.
Okay.
Nothing like that.
All right, proceed.
All right. So what I think I want to open this in Form Simplicity. Actually, I want to open it here. So this is page 1 now of the property disclosure. What do y'all think of that? Very different, right? Something that kind of stinks that doesn't have anything to do with the change is Form Simplicity doesn't have this part set up yet as a form field. So you have to drag and drop on those because you can't edit the property disclosure inside of Form Simplicity. But what it's doing is it's saying to the seller what what their responsibility is with this. It's not a warranty. Seller agrees to immediately notify if anything changes, tells the seller how to fill this out. Yeah. So that's the first page. Second page now looks like the first page, like what it was. It's changed a little bit, seems to have a little bit less on there. And then you go to the third page and you've got all of your property associations information. So that should have been put on this one when they claimed the homestead tax credit. So we'll have to educate our sellers a little bit about this. Hey, do you get money off? And they'll be like, I don't know, what's that? But then it has covered by association fees. These are all here. So things that you can just check off. Pretty interesting. Then it goes into the regular stuff. And after all those regular questions, it still has the giving you the chance to say no to it. They've taken out some lead-based paint verbiage. They've left the water intrusion. And then they sign. The buyer says, okay, I've seen it. And then, and then after 3 days, after we're under contract for 3 days or less, the seller replies, there are no changes to this. This is something that you should send with an accepted offer right away, so you don't have to remember. When a seller accepts an offer, you need to reply with no changes, even if the buyers have not signed this. This will help you immensely. Then, within 3 days prior to closing, the seller has to reply, no changes. This is something our staff will need to be on top of with you. But this is important for you to know. These 2 changes mean that you've got to stay on top of your stuff and be very with it.
Does this apply to contracts that were accepted in 2020?
So the rule of thumb for property disclosures is at the beginning of a new year, get a new disclosure. So I would, if you have a residential listing, if you have a commercial, if you have any listing out there, I would get a new property disclosure today on that and be ready to wrap this up the right way so nothing is left in question. And it may make them complain a little bit, but not nearly as much as having to go back and do it just before closing because people are mad. That is a big change. That is an important change. And that's one that, again, staff is going to have to really be on top of along with you. Please, please, please stay aware that you have duties to send that disclosure saying no changes, even if the buyer hasn't signed it. And to do that within 3 days. Did it say within 3 days or? Look.
What is this for? Why are they doing that?
To be updated by seller within 3 business days prior to closing and signed and dated. Within 3 business days, so 3 or less. Is that the way you're understanding that, brokers?
Yes.
All right. Bill, Keith?
Yes.
Okay. So 3 days or less to closing. So probably going to see this go out with doc acknowledgement prior to closing and URSA. So page 4, this is something that you should it's basically like a seller's page 4. on the condition of the property, if that makes any sense to reference that way. Very big change. Again, I'd like to talk to Maurice about this. I'd like to know the story behind it. But obviously, somebody went and saw a house. Well, not obviously, speculatively. Somebody went and saw a house. A month later, they said, you know what, I will take that, but I'm out of town. Go ahead and write the offer up. While a semi had gone through the living room and they just left it on the market, but the new buyer didn't know that. And then the seller took the offer thinking, well, insurance will have it done before closing anyway, big deal, and it wasn't done. That's a crazy story that probably didn't happen, but could. So it was probably a less extreme situation, but just like that. And then prior to closing, maybe a mail out closing, and the buyer signed off on everything, thinking, well, they've taken care of it this long. Why wouldn't they continue taking care of it? I'll go ahead and sign page 4. Who cares? And the seller didn't notify them of a change in condition. That's probably what happened to create the need for the final affirmation of everything's good. So any other thoughts on that?
Yeah. How did like Ursa repairs play into that? I mean, obviously, like if a buyer requests repairs and repairs are done,
There has been a change in.
there's been an alteration to the property.
Yeah. Well, those have already been disclosed on the Ursa then. So I don't think that there's any need to be vigilant about that on this, because it's already, these are the unknowns. So I think we're okay there.
Okay.
Any other thoughts on this change? Big change. Definitely a shift. Yes.
So what about on new construction? So sometimes new construction, they don't do the seller property disclosure until after the build.
Mhm.
So how does that change for new construction?
I would. A lot of new constructions, Charity won't even provide a disclosure. It's really turning into something that builders avoid. They've never lived there. They don't know what the there's been water intrusion. Duh. Yeah. We built a pad and it didn't have a roof on it. It got rained on. So, if I were a builder, I'd probably just mark unknown on all of that and move on right when I put it on the market. And if people were like, well, what do you mean unknown? My response would kind of be like, well, duh, we didn't live there.
Or just not do one at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And say, sorry, there's not one available.
Yeah.
Now that kind of sucks when it comes to things like, who's the trash carrier, and who do I get my gas from, and who do I get my electric from? So then maybe all the unknowns would be a better way to go. But then that creates distrust in the buyer, I think, when a builder's like, I don't know. And the buyer's like, well, how do you not know? It's kind of a double-edged sword, I guess.
I would think that most of the builders provide during a construction meeting, somewhere in there. I mean, we do, who the electric's going to be through, who your gas is going to be through. So that's all kind of covered in a pre-construction meeting in our end.
Yeah.
Most of the builders provide a warranty for a year after the house is built. So,
Mhm.
By law, they have to.
yeah. So that that gives the, the buyers a little bit of comfort, at least after they move in. I think you just have to work with your clients. If they have questions about it, explain, the process of construction is they're not living there. And when house is being built, there's rain, and sometimes rain gets in before things are dried in.
Well, and also they have a chance to make a comment in multiple sections. There are 2 sections. I would just create a disclosure comment that I use on a regular basis that basically says builder did not live in this home and isn't aware of happenings during construction that may affect the answers to this disclosure. Any change in condition will be disclosed as construction goes through completion. And that kind of lets them know, hey, I put this thing on the market at the start. How do I know what's going to happen to this? So I don't know. But we're here with you, working together to try to complete that and make sure that we have the right paperwork to satisfy everybody. In the end, that disclosure protects both parties, and I feel it's important to have, regardless of whether it says unknown or not. If it says unknown and a buyer signs it, who does that protect?
The builder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the seller.
For the seller.
Yeah. And if they buy the house and the buyer goes next door to talk to their neighbor about a problem that they have, and the neighbor says, you know what, I went out there and I took pictures of it and I texted those to the builder and he told me to screw off, and it says unknown, who does that protect?
The buyer.
The buyer. So I think it's important to have it, and if everybody acts honestly, then it's an easy thing to have out there and get done. And if a builder's out there not disclosing things, we'd sure want our buyers to have something to protect them. So good conversation to hash out, but I definitely think that it's something needed for a buyer and a seller to protect them. If a buyer comes and says, this is something that you knew about that was wrong, and the builder says, I didn't know, and they really didn't, and it's marked unknown, who does it protect? Prove that I knew. I didn't know, and you're under warranty, and I'll fix it. Slow down, brother. I think it's a smart thing to provide, but to do so intelligently. So moving on, that property disclosure, we've got some things marked out on there as well. I'm not going to go over the mark out because we don't do it. And if we don't do it, then that's fine. Through all that, I think we're really close to being done here. Mute before you sigh like that. I'm trying not to be boring. That hurt my feelings. Okay, that is it on that. We've got a couple of announcements to make. Let me look here. All right, I do want to let you know, we have decided, I spoke with all of the brokers last night and staff, and we have decided to postpone our awards banquet, which I hate to do. But we do not want COVID soup, and I'm worried about staying healthy right now. I'm worried for some people that are sick right now and need our prayers and care. Felicia is, I'm not going to say it right, but she has a bad immune system already. She has a immunocompromised. Did I say that right? Okay,
Mhm.
I did say it right. She's home resting, and please pray for her. I know that Eric O'Brien is home with COVID, and Malia gets her results back today, and she feels really poorly. With that in mind, with Malia, of course, if you get a listing, you're going to need to do your best taking pictures for now. We will catch up on listings later with marketing. They are both wanting to do what they can from home for us, for you. So we will continue to see social media marketing and things like that taking place for you. With the awards banquet being postponed, we don't have a new date. It is very important to me that you get your kudos and your back pat and your recognition for your hard work and efforts within the office and outside of it. We are going to make those announcements outside of the awards banquet, because at the beginning of the year is when people begin thinking, and we want you to be able to have the promotion you have earned. So we're gonna put that out earlier instead of later, and the awards banquet will then be a celebration of what you already know. Because I want you to have that recognition that you've earned. Last year we postponed, and I hated that. So I think we're working smarter with that this time, and getting that out there. Let me see, 2022 goal. I told you I'd share it today, and I'm just not there. I'm just not there. One of the things that we learn in Ninja leadership is that our activity matters more than our results. And you learn that in Ninja as well, in installation. And I want to reward activity, and I wonder about making activity our goal more than production. And I'm working on how to do that. So I'm just not ready. And I hope you guys are cool with that. I want to make sure that what we do put out is positive and uplifting. But I also know that clear goals create clear action. So I'm working on something to balance the two, and I'm trying to figure it out. So be patient, be kind. I love you guys. And that's what I've got right now. People are working from home, so continue to email in everything the regular way. Thank you for your patience with Form Simplicity. I found out Jeff McGregor helped me a lot. Thank you, Jeff. You're a good guy, and you were the right man for the job yesterday. The ARA just didn't let Form Simplicity know we paid. So while I was with clients yesterday, Jeff got on the horn and took care of that. So thank you, sir. You're a good man, and I'll do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You've earned it. You've earned it. Let's hang out all day. We'll make a day of it. Bring your baseball mitt. That's what I've got. Anybody else have anything? Anybody need to hop on? Okay, if brokers could hang out with me for a minute, I'm not surprised. And staff, if Tana, I don't see where, there she is, there's Tana. If you guys could hang on for a minute, I'd like to talk to you guys about something, and we will, it won't take long.
Bye.
Bye, guys. All right. Today I'm joining the Harrison board, and we'll start to see people hang their license with us that are only working in Harrison board. We have a neighbor is a board of choice, so they don't have to be a member of the neighbor board, and they can still hang their license in the Fayetteville office. So that's going to be done and easy. I'm renewing with Fort Smith in the morning tomorrow, but I'm driving down there to get some clarity on some things and do a face-to-face with them. I have planned for months to leave tomorrow for New Orleans until the 9th. And with the COVID stuff going on, I'm worried to leave staff. And I'd like to know your thoughts on that. And if you guys say, get your ass out of here, I'd love to hear that, but I don't know. I just don't know.
I think you do what you think is safe. We don't want you to get sick.
Agreed.
Agree
I
too.
agree with that too.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of what I do on a trip is sit around and read with my phone off. And to drive 10 hours to do that doesn't make sense to me.
What? Tell me again why you were going to New Orleans? Just for fun?
I was gonna go down there with my horn and jump in with some friends that I know that play in the clubs down there and just have a romping good time.
Okay.
But you know, the bigger the city, the more COVID there is. You know, I'm vaccinated. I want to be safe. I don't want to compromise myself or my friends. And I just don't think now's the time.
I haven't been back to Atlanta since Thanksgiving. And when I was there for Thanksgiving, I stayed at home. I didn't work. I only saw my family. I left my mother's house like 3 times, and that was to go to my sisters and my best friends and my stepmothers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's everyone in Atlanta has COVID, everyone, my brother included, who missed Christmas and New Year's.
We're seeing the exact same spike we saw this time last year.
So it's a personal thing. You need to do what you feel comfortable with. And personally, I think, you know, this is one of those things, it's going to be around forever. We just have to kind of figure a way to best live with it going forward. And hopefully each variant becomes less lethal, maybe more contagious, but less lethal. So I think you just have to do what you feel comfortable doing. We can't make that decision for you. I think you have to do what you think's best. And if it means postponing the trip to New Orleans for a month and going down in March, we can handle that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's where my gut has been. And I talked to my doctor and he said, you know, this is a less lethal variant, just like you did. And said that it's becoming more and more treatable and we're getting better and better off. We need more cooperation in the world, but that's where we're at. And I asked him about going, and he said, I know you need time off, maybe not in New Orleans. So,
I was going to say that if you feel like that you needed time off, it may not be the same as, you know, playing with your friends, but, you know, you could always get away somewhere a little less busy and, you know, just hang out or do whatever you wanted to do. So
I think I need to stick around with Malia and Felicia out as well. And I think I need to be more available personally, but what do you guys think of that? Like, I don't think I need to
Call the Ratcliffes and see if their Airbnb cabin is open over in West Fork.
Yeah. Well, by the way, I thought you were selling that thing. Didn't I go out there? and
They're
jump?
not ready to list yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
we wanted to get the pictures so that, because we wanted to take them when we had all the fall leaves.
And they're
But with
selling,
COVID and everything, they're like, we're just gonna wait. So
they're wanting to sell the house, cabin and acreage, right?
all of it, yeah, it's about 100 acres.
I want them to
Wow.
split off that cabin from me. Want to buy that. I like that little cabin.
Well, we talked, when we talked about offering it up in different ways, list it all together and then list it, just the land, list it with just some land in the house and the cabin, because really the house could be an Airbnb too.
Yeah. Yeah, good. If it had a creek next to it, I'd be begging for it. That's awesome. All right. Well, I'm gonna cancel my trip, and Rebecca wants to head down there. I think in April, her aunt is singing with Bonnie Raitt and
Oh,
at
cool.
House of Blues. So we'll
We'll
just
go for Jazz Fest,
I love Jazz Fest. That you talk about COVID soup there, man.
right?
Yeah.
I haven't been able to go because Joshua played baseball. We always had a conflict because of baseball. Now the girls dance, so I always have a conflict. I haven't been since like 1998.